So welcome to a Valentine edition of Gentle Somatic Yoga and Yin Yoga. We are going to focus on the heart. We'll focus on it a little bit physically. We'll also focus on it emotionally and spiritually as well. So let's start with HeartMath inspired practice. And the HeartMath inspired practice was also inspired by the Buddhist meditation, loving kindness meditation. So basically what we're doing is we're breathing in and out of our heart, sending out kindness, care, appreciation to somebody else or something else, and then back into for ourselves. So you can choose to pick someone you know has a need that you want to send it to. You can do it larger to a group of people. You could even do it to animals. But then on the in-breath, you're breathing that back into and for yourself. So go ahead and get comfortable. Take a minute to orient yourself in your space, maybe by looking around. Feel your sit bones firmly either on the ground or on a chair. If you're on a chair, make sure your feet are firmly somewhere on a block or the ground. And just begin to slow your breathing down. Direct the breath to the chest area. Keep it nice and slow and steady. In other words, don't hold at the beginning or the end. Just a very wave-like breath. You could even visualize waves, the inhale going up, the exhale going down. Nice wave-like smooth breath in and out of the chest area. If you like to place your hands on the heart, that can be helpful for some. And if you'd like to close your eyes, that can also be helpful for some. So start to radiate out love, care, compassion to somebody or something that is important to you, an individual, a group of people, somebody who needs care. And then on the in-breath, send that love, care, and compassion into and for yourself. Just keep breathing that way. You could choose to change the person or persons you're sending this to on the out-breath to somebody else. But every in-breath is for yourself. It's self-love, care, compassion for yourself. If your mind begins to wander, just bring it back to the breath. Go back into that pattern, radiating love out, radiating love in. Now, in the loving kindness form of this meditation, sometimes what you do is you challenge yourself to start radiating love out to maybe some of the more difficult people in your life. And we won't continue doing that today, but if you ever want to try that, you would start with somebody you feel a lot of affection for first, somebody you're neutral toward, and then somebody maybe you have a difficult relationship with. But then each in-breath is for yourself. Okay, we'll go ahead and start opening up our chest in a couple of different ways. If you can, you would take one arm behind your back, and you can be seated on knees, you can be seated on a chair or on the ground. And with the other hand, if it's possible, you you reach for the upper arm of the other hand. So it's like this. Okay. And again, seated or standing. And then the hand that's out in front of you, it's palm up, you just begin to rotate it out and rotate it in just a little bit. I would start really small with this. It's a pretty big chest opener. Use your breath. And then take that arm and put it on the ground. So you're still grabbing onto the forearm and lean a little bit toward the hand that's outstretched. You still have the arm behind you. Move in and out of this. And again, this does not have to be a big move. It can be a very, very small move. Well, go ahead and release that arm. You might need to do something very neutralizing or organic with this arm. Move that shoulder around and then maybe move it the other way. And then take your other arm behind your back. So the back of the hand is against your back. And this arm is to your side, palm up. Try to grab. Now, if this is too far to grab, you could actually do a strap with this if this is too far. So you could grab the strap instead of the arm like this. So that is a possibility if this is too much. It's interesting, on this side, it feels to be a little too much for me, so I'm going to use a strap. And then my hand is going to go out and in, getting a little rotation in that shoulder. And then stretching this arm out, placing the hand on the ground. Now, at this point, if you're still holding on to the strap, you're not going to be able to put your arm over your head. You're just going to kind of lean over. If you're doing it like this, yeah, neither way you're putting your arm over the head, but one is a little more intense than the other. So you decide how much mobility you've got this morning with that shoulder. All right, go ahead and release that, and let's go ahead and just shift that shoulder around a little bit and the other way. So we're going to get lower body involvement if you want to. If you're sitting, so now if you're on a chair, you could just cross a leg. But if you're on the ground, you're either doing it like this. So I have the right knee crossed. Some of you might also be drawing this underneath leg back. So you decide whether that leg is out straight or leg drawn back. Figure out what works for you this morning. And so if your right leg is on top, you're going to have your left arm on top. So whichever leg's on top, have the other arm outside. You're either just grabbing your shoulders, placing backs of hands. Some of you could be reaching fronts of hands. I'm going to start by grabbing shoulders and just feeling this for a moment. This is more of a yin pose, and breathing and breathing. Okay, releasing that one. Maybe placing legs in front of you, giving your legs a little bit of a rub down. You could then do an opposite move by putting hands behind your back, fingers faced away, opening up the chest, and then drawing everything in. Opening up the chest, feel this big opening, releasing. And third time, opening and releasing. So whichever leg you had on top, I think we had our right leg on top if you were doing it exactly like I was. So now you're going to take your other leg on top, either leave this leg off to in front or you're tucking it in. And so if my left leg is on top, my right arm is now on the outside, either hugging shoulders, touching backs of hands, or fronts of hands. You decide what's appropriate today. And settling into this pose and breathing. Continue to breathe if you can into your heart center, to the chest area. So we're really opening up our upper body. So the heart meridian actually goes all up and down the arms from the fingertips into the chest. So we're getting a lot of all of it. The shoulders are very involved as well. Let's go ahead and release that. You might just untangle your legs, but then also maybe roll shoulders a little bit. And then roll them the other way. Placing hands behind your back, fingers pointed away. This time, when you lean back and open, keep your knees together and then let the knees fall apart as you do a slight forward fold. So knees together, chest open, head up, arms behind, arms in front, knees apart, softly come down. So we're moving a lot of energy through the somatic movements. And then we're directing the work to the heart meridian during the yin movements. Okay, so let's go back to the first leg on top, which I believe was the left leg, either with the knees like this or foot out, you decide. So this time we're going to enter into a twist with this position. So decide which one works better for you for the twist. If your left leg's on top, you are twisting off to the left. So lift up first, nice and tall, twist, come back, soften, head toward knee. Inhaling, lift up, twist, exhaling, soften. Last time, lift up, twist, exhaling, soften. Let's undo our legs again. Place the hands behind your back, fingers pointed away. Allow the legs to open up as a windshield wiper this time. And now the right leg is on top. So once again, the other leg is stretched out or bent back. You decide. We're going to be turning toward your right leg, and you're not mirroring me now. You're doing it opposite of me. So twist and soften to the front and twist and soften to the front. Last time, twist and soften to the front. Once again, release the legs. You might need to give them a rub down. Hands behind the back, fingers pointed away. This time, try to do some windshield wipers with a slightly wider position. So you would be doing something like that, and your hip might come off and bring it to the center. So this may be a much smaller range of motion for some of you, but it gets into a different area. All right, let's go ahead and check in briefly before we continue our exploration of the heart meridian, the heart as an organ, the heart emotionally and spiritually. So just settle in and check in. You should feel a lot of aliveness in your upper body, a lot of tingling or energy. Okay, so we'll release the neck because sometimes when you do a lot of upper body shoulder work, we end up holding tension in our neck. So we'll go back to a tried and true gentle somatic yoga routine for neck release, where you're sitting not with any great posture. You can be slumped. Don't worry about your posture in this, but you're sitting with your knees bent and your feet slightly close together. And without a lot of strain, you're going to look up and pick a point in your white ceiling. Not so easy. Okay. So placing hands behind the back, fingers pointed away. The blanket is super helpful here to allow you to slide. So slide your left foot out no more than 6 inches or even less. Come up onto the heel, tuck the toes down. Release the toes, release the foot, slide the foot back to meet the other one, and lift the toes. Do this 2 more times. So we're doing a whole superficial fascial release on the back body from the bottom of the feet up to the nape of the neck. And by releasing this way, we will release our neck. Last time for this foot. And slide it back. Release the hands momentarily and try the look up again and see if you have a little more ability to look up without strain. And then we'll go to the other foot, slide it forward, up on heel, curl toes down, release toes, flatten the foot, slide the foot back, lift the toes. 2 more times. So you're curling the toes toward the ground when you slide the foot up. You're curling the toes toward the sky when your foot returns. And lift the toes. Now lift both sets of toes and just kind of maneuver your toes a little bit. The rest of your foot is on the ground, the pads of the toes, just the toes themselves. Release the arms and look up and see if you have even more ability to have that head released, at least backward and forward. And we'll release the neck more on the ground in some other fashions. Okay. So I want to take a pause and just give you a couple of acupressure points for heart meridian. Well, this one is actually a pericardium point, and There's no such organ as a pericardium, but in traditional Chinese medicine, they consider the outer part of the heart to be its own separate meridian system. So the pericardium 6 point is you take about 2, 3 fingers from your wrist down your forearm, and it's right there. This is called the inner frontier gate. It regulates our boundaries. It fosters appropriate heart openness and vulnerability and brings brightness and joy. So you can handle these acupressure points in a couple of different ways. You could just press on it. You could move the thumb or finger that you're doing around in a circle. Some people like that. Other people even like to tap on it. So I tend to prefer the thumb sort of circling in this point. And there are points on both sides. So after you've done one side, go ahead and do the other one. I'm going to give you one other heart point, which is heart 9. Okay, so the next point, heart 9, is on your pinky. So literally, you're just pressing on your pinky. This is called little pushy in. It fosters joy, helps restore you if you're feeling burned out or agitated. So you're in the middle of doing a lot of work. You take a break at your computer and just start pressing on your pinky. That's heart 9. And you can do that on both sides again. And I'll give you one more, which is heart 7. So I didn't do this in order. I did pericardium 6 first, down here, couple fingers away from the wrist. Heart 9 is top of the pinky. And now heart 7 is actually right on the wrist. And I like to put my thumb there and kind of hold my wrist. And this is the crease of your wrist. It's known as spirit gate. And it settles anxiety and worrisome emotions. So this is just a good one, like you're in a doctor's office sitting there waiting to be called in. You could do some heart-focused breathing at the same time, be doing a little acupuncture. All right, go ahead and shake your wrists out. And those are just a couple points that can be helpful for the heart. Let's make our way onto hands and knees. So a great way, obviously, to work the heart meridian and open up the chest is through cat-cows, or in somatic, we call it arch and flatten. So you can either choose to do this in the somatic way, and the big difference is in somatics, when we drop the belly, we drop the chin. We come through neutral. When we lift everything up, we lift the chin. Now, a normal cat-cow, you would do it the opposite, right? When you drop the belly, your head goes up. When you pull the belly in, your head goes down. So you decide what's more appropriate for you. So just do a few of these at your pace, mainly focusing on the upper body today. And these kind of movements can always be done from seated too. And I even do these standing up as well. Just getting some spinal undulations, but we're focusing on our chest area today. So in the Yin tradition, we will do a thread the needle, and you might need some props for this. I'll demonstrate it. But my suggestion is, especially those of you who have some neck issues, you might have something like a bolster. So I'm just going to lift the arm up, and then I'm going to slide the arm under and place my head. My butt's in the air. My other arm is either stretched in front of me in some fashion, or if you want to continue getting the shoulder open, you'd place it on your back with your palm up. So stay here and breathe. We're getting the whole heart meridian involved when we do a pose like this. Oh, you might sigh a little bit. Now, if this is bothering your neck, you could always face plant and not turn your head at all. That's always an option for those of you whose necks do not like to do this. But we are still getting deeply through this channel to the heart. Breathing, opening up the chest each time you inhale, softening and relaxing every time you exhale. So very gently coming out in between the sides. If your knees are getting really tired, you might get off your knees in a downward dog if you want to do a dog today, or some of you might just sit back. Give yourself a little bit of a rest in some form or fashion. Checking in. And then we'll do the other side. So you're going to lift your arm up first, opening the whole side body. You're going to draw this arm through, either turning the cheek or just face planting. Your other arm is either stretched in front of you, or some of you might prefer it on your back body with the palm up. Now, I'm not going all the way down into a child's pose. I am staying up in a puppy pose or melted heart, because this can be tough on the low spine if you go all the way down in the child's pose. So butt in the air, breathing, feeling the opening under the armpit. And very slowly coming out of this. And we're going to make our way back to seated to give our knees a little bit of a break. Take your time. Come into a seated pose. Time to check in. What are you noticing? Really focus on the upper body and the heart center. You might also be opening up your respiratory system a little bit as well. And we'll do our mudra practice just to give us a break from all this physical work. It's not a long mudra, but it's a good heart mudra. And then we'll go into floor-based on our backs. So find your way into some comfortable seat. And it does not have to be on the floor. The chair is preferable for you. So we'll do the prana mudra today. And it is a gesture of the upward current of vital energy. So you're just going to take your thumb and touch your ring finger and pinky. Thumb, ring finger, and pinky. Your other two fingers are making a V, and you lay this on your lap. So as you're breathing here, you might notice the breath is just moving up, bringing vital energy to your cardiovascular system, also to your immune system. So your guided meditation is vitalizing upward current. As you hold the prana mudra, take several natural breaths to attune to all the feelings and the sensations awakened by the gesture. Notice how your breath is directed upward into the chest, cultivating an experience of uplifting energy, allowing you to breathe more fully and freely. Take some time to sense how your inhalation is lengthened naturally. This is the vehicle for the prana vayu, which is your upward moving current of energy. Sense the upward current as the color of a light green meadow, filling your upper torso with nature's own vitality, nourishing your lungs and heart completely. As you breathe in greater vitality, each area of your lungs is infused with life-giving energy. Begin by taking several breaths to sense the upward moving current of energy nourishing the front of your lungs completely. This represents the vitality you need to meet life confidently, no matter what the challenge is. Next, take some time to sense the current of vital energy infusing the back of your lungs. This represents the release of all tension, allowing you to live and breathe with greater lightness and ease. Now sense the upward moving current of energy expanding your lungs horizontally, allowing you to embrace life completely in a natural balance of giving and receiving. Now take some time to sense all areas of your lungs integrated. You're breathing evenly, fully vitalized by the pranavayu. With your breath flowing freely, experience this light green current of energy nourishing your heart softly and gently, supporting it and functioning smoothly and rhythmically. Also sense this current of vitality nourishing your thymus gland behind your upper sternum, enhancing circulation to this area of your being, supporting your immune system in functioning optimally. With your entire upper torso bathed in light green energy, allow the upward moving current to permeate thoughts and feelings, enhancing your level of enthusiasm, optimism, and vitality. Nourished with uplifting energy, you naturally live more vibrantly, learning to appreciate each moment of life as a precious gift to be embraced completely. Affirm your vital energy as you repeat the following 3 times, aloud or silently. Nourished by the upward current of energy, I live with enthusiasm and vitality. Nourished by the upward current of energy, I live with enthusiasm and vitality. Nourished by the upward current of energy, I live with enthusiasm and vitality. Slowly release the gesture. Take several breaths to sense this enhanced vitality. And as you are ready, blinking, open your eyes, and we will come down onto our backs. Okay. I'm going to sit up to show you first what we're going to do on our backs. Your knees will be bent, your feet on the floor. You're going to take your arms like this, holding each elbow, and you're going to move the arms side to side first a couple of times, scooping it down and up like a half-slung moon a couple of times, and then doing a few circles a couple of times, and then you'll reverse the hand position. Okay? So legs are bent, knees on the floor, your arms are above your, probably a chest. You're grabbing onto the elbows and you're just sliding them side to side. Not a big move, a little move. And now you'll do a half slung moon. That's a little bit more movement. And then do a full circle. Again, don't do this too big. Keep this small enough so that you're not feeling pain or causing your nervous system to overreact. Go ahead and switch your hand position in some fashion. Go back to side a few times. And then do the half slung moon a few times. And then go back into circles and probably try to circle the other way. I can't remember which way I circled before. Let's go ahead and lay our arms by our side and just start to move our lower body in a windshield wiper fashion. Just leaving your arms comfortably by your side, opening up the side body. And now, if you need something to elevate the floor behind your head, add a rolled blanket or a cushion. So this way, my backs of my hands are on the cushion. My palms are facing up. I'm getting a little bit of a cactus style opening in my arms. And when the legs swish to the left, you can lengthen the right arm along your cushion or blanket and then bring it back. And when the legs swish to the right, the left arm is doing it. Ah. Okay. So we're going to make our way to our side body. You might need additional cushioning here, and something under the head might be helpful. Start by stacking your legs, if you could, as if you're seated in a chair. Make sure your head is not draping forward, but leaning back slightly, okay? And we're going to just lift the knee of the top leg, keep the feet together, making a clamshell shape. Just a couple of times. Now have the knees stay together and lift the lower leg a little bit and leave the knees as if they're glued. Now, we're going to add the upper body, but you have to be careful again with this. So I'm taking my upper arm and I am wrapping it around my head, supporting my neck. And so when the lower part of the body comes up, I'm just going to squeeze a little bit. And you may come up an inch or less, or you can come up more. This is a side crunch, but this is so good for people with scoliosis. So good for getting this whole side body opened and for the heart meridian. And don't do too many of them and don't overdo it. You might want to circle the shoulder around a few times. So we're going to open up into a lying down twist here. You can do just a regular twist, or you can do cat pulling its tail here, depending on what you would prefer doing. So the thing that you have to do, in my opinion, is not have your head so high. So I'm going to either use this to support behind my back when I'm opening, or some of you might want it between the legs. So you decide whether it's most helpful. And if you're doing the full version of cat pulling its tail, my suggestion is to put this behind the back, and you'll stretch the top leg this way. And then with either your hand or a strap, you're going to grab for that bottom leg. So the reason the bolster is behind the back in this one is to elevate the floor so your shoulder's not hanging out in the air. If you're doing just a regular twist, you could have that bolster between your knees. Just make sure your shoulders are firmly on something and your head is in a comfortable position. So breathing here, this is our held pose. You should have a real open side of your chest, a heart meridian. Breathing. All right, let's go ahead and release that, whatever twist you're doing. Gently make your way onto your back between the sides. We're going to do a little bit of rocking to recenter our pelvis and our whole body. So bend the knees. You could support the neck in this rocking. You don't have to. So when you rock your hips away, the backs of your arms are firmly into the ground. And then come through neutral. When you rock your hips toward, your chin is tucked. You might be lifting your head or not. Your elbows are slightly coming together. Come back through neutral again. Rock your hips away. Draw the backs of the arms in the ground. The chin could be reaching up to the sky. Neutral. Rock your hips towards your ribs. Tuck the chin, elbows together. Neutral. So now stretch out just briefly before we go to the other side. And let's do a check-in, see how we're feeling. And get yourself ready to set up for the other side. You could just turn over if that works for you. Make sure you have your props nearby. So we're starting on our side first. Stacking knees, stacking feet, supporting underneath head. Visualizing that you are sitting in a high back chair and the chair is turned over to its side. So we'll start first by clamshelling the knee just a couple of times. Feel where you're working. This is a little bit of leg work we're doing right here, and hip. Now keep the knees together, and now you're just lifting the calf and the foot just a little bit. Adding in the side crunch, you're reaching around your head to protect the neck, and then also open up the armpit a little bit, this whole side body. And your upper body and the lower body are squeezing toward each other just a little bit, and then you're softening. Again, this may be an imperceptible move. As long as you're putting in the effort, you don't have to make this a big move. Somatics is not about doing, it's about sensing. You can change your nervous system even by visualizing a move you can't do. So you could just be visualizing that I'm engaging this side body muscle and releasing it. So go ahead and let that go. We're going to set up for some sort of side twist, either doing the regular twisting version, where you're putting a bolster or something between your knees and opening up your chest, or you could do the cat pulling its tail version, where the top leg is stretching forward, the bottom leg is reaching back. Whichever version you're doing of this twist, your shoulder is supported so that it's not hanging out in the air. Your waist is mostly feeling the twist, so waist to chest. You're protecting your sacrum and you're protecting your neck. And opening up and breathing, filling up the side of the body that is exposed to the air with breath, with the uplifting current of pranavayu. So very slowly, gently release, move things out of your way so that you can lay comfortably on your back, checking in to see how you are feeling. You might need to gently windshield wiper the legs or just adjust yourself onto the ground. A nice sigh is really helpful after a very vigorous practice. And this has been a vigorous practice. Breathe. So we'll set up for a restorative pose or two to end today with. And the restorative pose is still a lovely chest opener. If you don't have a firm bolster, You could use a couple of blankets. The best way to do this pose is to have one block on its second edge, one block on its lower edge, some sort of bolster that's relatively firm, making a ledge for yourself. Now, the thing for some of you is you might want to then have a blanket for your sacrum to lay on so that you're not having this space. Others of you might like this space. Now, the only other thing you might want is something under the knees if you're going to let your knees go out to the side. So it will look like this when it's all said and done. So my rear is up against the edge of this ledge. I'm going to support underneath my knees with some blocks. I'm going to gently lay back. Now, there is one other thing. Some of you might need something extra under the neck too. So you might want to grab a towel or something else, and I'm going to use another blanket to place it under the neck, like that. So restorative poses take a lot of setup, and the setup is actually part of the actual routine, is to take the time to really set yourself up. So you need to be completely supported in this pose, whatever you need, so that you feel totally, So I have found my setup. There's only one other thing I might have done is maybe have my elbows leaning on something slightly higher just to support under the arms as well, a little bit more. Okay, so once you have taken the time and done everything you need to do to get yourself into this fully supported pose, your only job is to breathe slowly and steadily in and out of your chest area. As you're lying here breathing this way, completely relaxed and supporting your nervous system, you could focus on what you love about your life. Now, if this is a difficult thing for you to do, either because things are not going great right now in your life or there's a lot of stress, you could step outside yourself and imagine that you're asking this question to or you're supporting your dearest friend in finding what they love about their life, or what your dearest friend or loved one would say to you, or even a spiritual guide. What's good about your life? So once you've landed on a few things, you can just breathe this in and out of the chest area. Now, you can choose to stay in your comfortable pose, or you can choose to do another version of your Shavasana if you've had enough in that pose. Take your time making your way into whatever your final pose is for today. So if you are a regular participant in my yoga sessions, our last reading had something to do with shedding, right? Shedding off our skin. So this is a continuation of the shedding theme, and it's called What Keeps Us from Shedding. Often we give up our right to renewal to accommodate the anxiety of those around us. For sure, living is not easy, and living openly is both wondrous and dangerous. The fact is that shedding, no matter how useful or inevitable, always has a pain of its own. Unfortunately, there's no escaping the underside of growth. So it's not surprising that there are many feelings peculiar to human beings that prevent us from shedding what has ceased to work, including fear, pride, nostalgia, a comfort in the familiar, and a want to please those we love. Often we give up our right to renewal to accommodate the anxiety of those around us. The Melanesians of the New Hebrides contend that this is how we lost our immortality. Sir James Frazer has preserved their story. It seems at first human beings never died, but cast their skins like snakes and crabs and came out with youth renewed. But after a time, a woman growing old went to a stream to change her skin, according to some. She was Ulta Marama, change skin of the world. She threw her old skin in the water and observed that as it floated, it caught on a stick. Then she went home, where she had left her child, but the child refused to recognize her, crying that its mother was an old woman, not this younger stranger. So to pacify the child, she went after her old skin and put it back on. From that time, human beings ceased to cast their skins and died. And so, when we cease to shed what's dead in us in order to soothe the fear of others, we remain partial. When we cease to surface our most sensitive skin simply to avoid conflict with others, we remove ourselves from all that is true. When we maintain ways we've already discarded just to placate the ignorance of those we love, we lose our access to what is eternal. So sit quietly or lay quietly in the last minute or two and ask yourself, what voices are asking you to keep your old skin and not change? And center yourself and ask, what is the cost to you for not renewing your connection with your soul? Kind of an interesting one, based on a very interesting story that I had never heard of. Some of the folklore of indigenous people are just fascinating, and Mark Nepo likes to bring them into a lot of his readings. Okay, well, take your time, stretch what needs to be stretched. I forgot to do more neck things, so if your neck needs more help, you can always do, remember the lying down bridge pose with your hands behind your neck, with the head straight, and then with it tilted. That is what we did, I think, in the last class, if you continually practice with me. But take your time, make your way to seated. I was trying to beckon Sophie with that. But she doesn't seem to be wanting to come in and visit us today. All right, so that signals the end of our time together. I hope you benefited from today's practice. Gather in any parts of the practice that were particularly helpful to you, and whatever you needed to heal, and whatever you need to be reminded of as far as loving yourself and loving life and opening up the heart. And let's together say namaste.
Thank you, Andrea. That was a great class.
Oh, you're so welcome. Let me stop the recording.